Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, with our main topic today. We're discussing today President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's visit to Sudan and his meeting with the head of the Sudanese Transitional Sovereignty Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and holding talks also with the Prime Minister, the Sudanese Prime Minister, to shed more light on the importance and the historical visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Sudan. We have the pleasure to have to host today Ms. Amira Sayed, the journalist. Good morning, Ms. Amira. Ms. Amira, could you shed light on the importance and the historical visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Sudan?
Yeah, definitely this visit came in a very critical period where there are many regional and international developments. So this visit came to express Egypt's support for Sudan in all fields, and also it is also a reflection of the deep and strategic ties between the two countries that spans over several years. And we have to take into consideration that Egypt and Sudan are bound by the same fate. They are both Arab and African countries, and the river Nile that it's uniting the peoples of the two countries. So we have like a long history of unique and strategic partnership. And definitely this visit is very important, and there are many vital issues that have been tackled between President Sisi and the head of the Sudanese Transitional Sovereignty Council. For example, they discussed the means of further enhancing cooperation between the two countries in all domains, in economic, political, and military domains. Also, they discussed the recent developments of the negotiations over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which is now negotiations is passing through critical period in light of Ethiopia's announcement that it will unilaterally start the second filling of the dam, a matter that was strongly rejected by both countries. Also, among the main topics that were discussed in this meeting, the recent developments along the Ethiopian and Sudanese borders, and President Sisi stressed several times that Sudan's security and stability is part and parcel of Egypt's national security. So definitely it is a very important and strategic visit. And also President Sisi said that the bilateral ties between Egypt and Sudan should be a model for the comprehensive partnerships between brother countries. Yeah.
Yes, also Mrs. Amira, the head of Transitional Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, he thanked President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for and shed light on the aids that were sent to Sudan recently. Could you shed light on this?
Yeah, as I told you, President Sisi stressed several times that Sudan's stability and security is part and parcel of Egypt's national security. So Egypt is supporting Sudan's stability by all means. For example, in September, when Sudan was facing like severe floods, Egypt did not hesitate to send aid to Sudan. Also, Egypt supported Sudan to be removed from the list of the countries that support terror attacks. And also Egypt, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stressed Egypt's full support for the economic reform program in Sudan, and this has been reflected in many actions. Also, if we are talking about the military cooperation between the two countries, a few days ago a military agreement between the two countries was signed, and we have and I can remember that the Egyptian Chief of Staff Mohammed Farid said that now it is not only important to cooperate with Sudan on military level, but also to strategically coordinate in order to face the common threats that are faced by the two countries.
Yes. Yeah. Could you shed light on the historical importance of Sudan to Egypt, as the two countries are downstream countries?
Yeah. Look, now the top priority was given to the Nile Dam issue because it has a direct impact on both Egypt and Sudan. As you mentioned, they are downstream countries, so they will be directly affected by any shrink on their shares or by any unilateral action that will be taken by Ethiopia. So in yesterday's discussion, both parties stressed the importance of intensifying the international and regional efforts in order to reach a comprehensive agreement that do not harm any of the countries, do not harm the water interests of Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. And we have seen that over the past 10 years, Egypt has been trying by all means to reach a legally binding agreement that protected the water rights of all countries. So yesterday, both countries, Egypt and Sudan, strongly and clearly condemned any unilateral action that will be taken by Ethiopia to impose hegemony over the Nile resources, because it will impact the peoples of the downstream
actually, Ms.
countries.
Amira, during a press conference, both countries rejected the fait accompli policy.
Exactly.
How do you see the importance of the two countries having the same stance?
Yeah, as I told you now, the negotiations over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is in a critical period, especially in light of the announcement of Ethiopia that it's going to start the second filling of the dam. So Egypt and Sudan send a strong message that they have the same vision, they are bound by the same fate, so they will adopt the same policies, they have the equal political will to reach a comprehensive and fair agreement. And also Egypt supported Sudan's proposal to form a panel made up of the African Union, the United Nations, the United States and the European Union to supervise and monitor the upcoming negotiations. So definitely this statement came on time, and it is considered a strong message to Ethiopia and the international community in general that Egypt and Sudan will never accept any encroachment on the water rights of the peoples of two countries. And we have to bear in mind that water rights is part and parcel of the national security of both countries.
Yes. Ms. Amira, how would the Egyptian Sudanese efforts would help in preserving peace and stability to the region?
Yeah, definitely. If you are talking about Egypt, especially under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, is stepping up efforts to maintain stability in Africa. And when Egypt shared the African Union, it has stressed several times that we have to maintain stability and to reach political settlements for all countries that are suffering from instability. If we are talking about Sudan, as I told you, one of the main topics that were discussed today, the developments on the Ethiopian and Sudanese borders, as Sudan is trying to assert its control and sovereignty over its land in line with the international treaties. And also Egypt and Sudan, they are faced the common security threats. If you are talking about the Red Sea security, now Sudan is strategically located at the point between the Sahel and Sahara and the Red Sea coast, and we have seen that there are militant activities around the Red Sea shore. And also if you are talking about the fragile situation of Yemen and the presence of the foreign military in and around the ports of the Red Sea ports, so we have seen that Egypt and Sudan, they are trying also to keep the security of the Red Sea, to keep the security of both countries. So we have, as I told you, that Egypt and Sudan, they are facing the main security threats, and that's why recently we have seen a remarkable progress in the military cooperation between the two countries. A few days ago, military agreement was signed between the two countries, and also recently Sudan started to participate in the joint military exercise with Egypt. So definitely they are, as I told you, they are bound by the same fate. Yeah.
Yes. What are the challenges that are facing Egypt and Sudan, especially in light of the coronavirus, the COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely now all countries worldwide and all governments are grappling with the ramifications of COVID-19. And I think that in Africa, it's more challenging in light of overpopulation and we can say maybe the lack of adequate medical services. But we have seen that Egypt during the pandemic, it was trying to offer helping hand to all brotherly countries. It has sent medical aid to Lebanon and to Sudan. So, and as I told you, even during the period of floods that has hit Sudan, Egypt did not hesitate to send its aid to Sudan. It also offered its helping hand. In medical file in general, Egypt is trying to support the African continent, and we have, for example, President Sisi initiative to treat 1 million African people from hepatitis C. So not only pandemic or COVID-19 that has prompted Egypt to further cooperate with Sudan. No, it is part of Egypt's broader strategy to offer helping hand to all African countries in medical file.
Yes. Ms. Amira, why through the history was Sudan always being important to Egypt? As for example, during King Mina, long ago, and also during King Farouk and King Fuad.
Yeah. Yeah, as I told you, Egypt and Sudan, they are there are historical ties that span for several years that has been reflected also in the political visions of both countries. So that's why President Sisi stressed several times that Egypt's strategic stance towards Sudan did not and will never change because both countries, they are bound together by a historical ties, and this has been reflected in the recent political and diplomatic momentum between the two countries. Definitely,
Yes.
especially that there is a lifelong bond between the two countries, which is the Nile River, that unite and bring together the peoples of both countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you see the importance of the timing of this visit as it comes? This is the first time President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi visits Sudan following the formation of the Sudanese Transitional Sovereignty Council in August 2019.
Yeah. In general, President Sisi was keen on exchanging visits with Sudan. In his first presidential term, he was keen on visiting Sudan as part of his first visits to neighboring countries, and also in 2018, he was also keen on paying a visit to Sudan. So during the current period, we have seen many developments in Africa. As I told you, if you are talking about East Africa, the tension along the Ethiopian and Sudanese border, there are many tensions, and also Sudan recently has been removed from the list of the countries that support terrorism, and now on economic, for example, level, Sudan started to devalue its currency, seeking economic reform. So the time of this visit is very important because Egypt wants to deliver a certain message that Egypt is supporting Sudan in all its efforts to maintain stability, security, and also to support its economic reform program in light of Egypt's dazzling success in its economic reform program.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time, for your valuable information. Ms. Amira Said, the journalist. Thank you very much for coming today.
It's a great honor for me. Thank you.
Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program Breakfast Show. I'm Amal Mukhtar, and I was joined by my colleague Nermeen Abdurrahman. Thank you very much for watching, and good day.